Good evening and welcome to the City Council, Norman Utilities Authority, Norman Municipal Authority, Norman Tax Increment Finance Authority meeting of September 27th, 2022. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Studley.
Here.
Councilmember Schuler.
Here.
Councilmember Lynn.
Here.
Councilmember Grant.
Here.
Councilmember Tortorello.
Here.
Councilmember Foreman. Here. Councilmember Holman.
Here.
Councilmember Peacock.
Here.
Mayor Heikkila.
Here. Would you all please stand and join me for a Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 1, approval of the City Council special session minutes of June 7th, 2022, City Council study session minutes of July 19th, 2022, City Council conference minutes of June 26th, 2022, City Council Finance Committee minutes of August 18th, 2022, and the City Council Norman Utilities Authority, Norman Municipal Authority, and Norman Tax Increment Finance Authority minutes of August 9th, 2022. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Do council members, will you please cast your votes?
All votes have been cast and the motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Awards and presentations, item number 2, consideration of a resolution awarding the 2022 Norman Animal Welfare Volunteerism Award. I need a motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion and second. You want me to read it first? No. I have a motion on the floor is to adopt the resolution. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast. Passes unanimously.
This is a resolution of the Council of the City of Norman, Oklahoma, in conjunction with the Norman Animal Welfare Oversight Committee, awarding the 2022 Norman Animal Welfare Volunteerism Award. Whereas the Norman Animal Welfare Oversight Committee seeks to promote pet adoption, education, citizen involvement, and volunteer services for the Norman Animal Shelter, and ensure that all animals adopted at the Norman Animal Shelter are spayed and neutered. And whereas that programs instituted for the care of the animals involve citizens in coordination with other outside agencies in an effort to maximize the adoption of the animals at the Norman Animal Shelter. And whereas the Norman Animal Shelter includes in its mission the involvement of its citizens as partners to the caring of the animals when they are in the city facility. And whereas the City of Norman entrusts the Norman Animal Welfare Oversight Committee with the duties of providing advice to the city on issues involving the care of animals and citizen involvement. And whereas on May 23rd, 2016, the Norman Animal Welfare Oversight Committee unanimously approved to establish the Norman Animal Welfare Volunteerism Award and named Erica Loftus as the inaugural recipient. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Council of the City of Norman, Oklahoma, that that item 6, that the City of Norman, Oklahoma, in conjunction with the Norman Animal Welfare Oversight Committee, does hereby award the 2022 Norman Animal Welfare Volunteerism Award to Pam Barkus. Pam, would you come up, please?
Hello. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kelly Robertson. I'm the manager at the Norman Animal Welfare Center, and I'd like to introduce you our Volunteer of the Year, Pam Barkus. Pam, I want to present this to you, and I want to tell everybody just a little bit briefly about what Pam does for us at the Animal Welfare Center. Pam started volunteering for us late February of this year. So just about 6-7 months ago, Pam started volunteering for us. Pam takes care of what is often an overlooked duty at the Animal Welfare Center, and that is our laundry. Thanks to Pam, every dog and cat always has a soft, warm, clean blanket or bed to sleep on at night. And it has taken a huge amount of workload off of the employees at the Animal Welfare Center because Pam takes care of this task for us. Since February, late February, early March of 2022, Pam has volunteered 1,098 hours at the Animal Welfare Center. So we absolutely love her, and we love what she does for our animals and our employees. She also, when is needed, she'll take home items of our laundry, beds or blankets that need repair, and she uses her seamstress skills to fix those for us, and we can put them right back into our laundry closet and get them back out to the animals. So once again, Pam, thank you so much. We love you. You are a part of our family. We appreciate everything that you do for us.
I just want to say I really enjoy being there. I've met a lot of great people. Keeps me busy. I want to thank my daughter Angie for getting me off the couch. She told me about the shelter, and we went down and looked at it, and then I applied, and I really, like I said, I really like being there. Everybody is just super nice, keeps me busy all day long, and I get to be around puppies. Yeah, so thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pam. Next item on the agenda is the consent docket. Oh, council announcements. I always forget council announcements. I'm sorry. Council members, do you have announcements? Council member one.
Yes, so thank you, Pam. She was shocked at how many hours she had donated. If you didn't get to see her face up here, it was pretty exciting to watch. So thank you. That's a very thankless job, and go adopt a pet if you can. I have a grand puppy from Norman Animal Welfare that I love greatly, so they're great animals. I wanted to let you guys know that this weekend, Sunday, October 2nd, from 1 to 5 at Westwood Golf Course, there is going to be a United Way fundraiser, and I'm going to be in a dunk tank, along with a few other council members, I hear. So if you want to dunk some of your favorite or not so favorite council members, we will be there. Come spend your money and donate it to a good cause and dunk one of us. We also, Lauren and I met with Tim Powers and Tiffany Versa in regards to our website. And if you have ever been on the city's website, years ago, it was horrid. I hated it. I was actually shocked and hadn't really been on it because I just call Brenda for everything now. But it was a lot to search through, and it's actually improved a lot over the years. And so it's going to be improving even more, making it way more user-friendly, especially for your mobile phone. So if you open up the website, it'll be easy to click a button and pay a bill. Like it already is, but it'll be easy to click a button and maybe report something to the Action Center. So be watching for that. And if you haven't already gone onto our website from your mobile phone, try it, check it out. And we're going to have, Tiffany's putting together an announcement about it that's kind of like how to navigate and things like that. So be on the lookout for that. And that's all I got.
Councilmember?
Well, I will not be in the dunk tank this weekend. Not because I don't want to be, but I will be out of town. So if I was here, I would have offered myself up to be dunked. So just want to put that on record. And then also wanted to let you know about the conversation, just some other information from the conversation that Councilmember Studley and I had this morning. In addition to working on some improved kind of access and services to the website, staff is working on implementing some new software for the permitting process. So it's coming. There's going to be improved service with that. It's going to take a little bit of time. So be patient, especially as we get ready to potentially and soon open up the development center and all of the things that are coming forward on the development side of the city services and things like that. So we hear you, we understand that things can be cumbersome and challenging, and so there are lots of things that are coming forward to help ease and simplify some of those processes. So those are all the announcements I have.
Yes, I am in the dunk tank. Let's break a record. Come on out. I know that so a few people might line up for that opportunity. I'm pretty sure I'm out there, I think at 2. If not, it's 2:30. So, I mean, if I come out there at 2 and they let me in there, I'll stay for the whole hour as long as people line up and keep spending their money. So hopefully we'll raise some money. Come on out.
I'd just like to thank Ward 4 for always pushing for progress. As the first woman of Mexican indigenous heritage to be elected to the Norman City Council, I would like to remind everyone that National Hispanic Heritage Month ends on October 15th. With that in mind, on October 7th, there will be a Legacy Park Hispanic Heritage Month concert from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., and it is open to the public. 8? What did someone say? Okay, anyways. All right, is the concert Legacy Park Hispanic Heritage Month, it's 7 to 9, or is it changed? It is the exact time. Okay. Lee Hernan, a self-described rock, pop, and electronic artist, will headline that evening. Attendees can also try Venezuelan food by OK Sandwich, a Norman-owned food truck. In Ward 4, we have a fun and educational day celebrating amazing monarch butterflies and all the pollinators that call Oklahoma home on October 2nd, Andrews Park, from 12 to 4 p.m. This event will feature plant sales, games and crafts, educational stations, story time, and a Meet the Expert table. Guest speaker Arthur Sarah Dykeman, hope I said that right. Bicycling with Butterflies is the featured speaker this year. She's the person who was the first to follow by bicycle the eastern population of monarch butterflies on their round-trip, multinational, multi-generational migration from Mexico to Canada and back. And that's it for Ward 4.
Councilmember?
I will not be in the dunk tank this year because I was in the dunk tank last year. So good luck and have a good time. Couple announcements there. Your Norman delegation to Robert Standridge's interim study on the Turnpike was held today from 1 to 4. And just to let you know that we pretty much hit upon everything that we've been discussing as a city and as to wards 5, 6, and 8 regarding the Turnpike. I thought it was a productive session today. We met with state legislators. They got to hear our side of the story, our concerns, and hopefully this will change the course, but time will tell. The last announcement I want to make is that after careful consideration and thoughts and discussion with my ward, I am going to run for re-election for Ward 5. I think I'd like to stay where I'm at and continue doing what I'm doing. We've done incredible work together as a council, and I think it's time that that we continue this. And so, again, I am running for re-election for Ward 5. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember?
Okay, on Monday, October 3rd is National Night Out. Ward 6 has 2 events, one in Park Place and Hall Park that I know of, so yay, Ward 6 being really active. And the Norman Police Department will have theirs at the Sooner Mall. And then I know that we like breezing through consent. We don't read it out anymore. I do appreciate shorter meetings, and I get that everyone does. However, I do have some blind constituents who are concerned that their only way that they can hear what's going on in the city is by having it read. And so I think we need to, as a council, consider making sure that we make sure all residents are able to hear what's on the consent docket.
Councilmember?
Thank you. I just want to encourage everyone to remember that the fall cleanup is coming up, where you can leave items out by the curb and it'll get picked up. There are a list of items that are acceptable. There are some things that are not. So I encourage you to check out the city website. The first one is starting on October 8th for Monday customers, and then the 15th for Tuesday, the 22nd for Wednesday, the 29th for Thursday, and then November 5th will be for Friday customers. That would be customers who have your sanitation picked up on those days. So be ready for that. It's a good opportunity to get rid of a lot of clutter and junk around the house and in the garage. Also want to encourage everybody, if you have an opportunity, to check out the Community Planning and Transportation Committee meeting from last Thursday. It's on the City of Norman YouTube channel. And not only do we get a regular update about the public transit system in that meeting, but in this particular meeting, we got an update and talked about our disaster debris cleanup plan in the City of Norman. Many of you are familiar that we have had many natural disasters in the City of Norman over the last decade or so. Ice storms, floods, tornadoes, to name a few, downbursts, all sorts of things have caused millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars in damage, and being able to clean up those types of things takes a lot of effort from city staff and a real clear plan, which before 2007, the City of Norman did not really have until we had that really big ice storm back in 2007. Now we do have a plan, but it does need to be updated. And so I encourage anybody interested in that, and I think everybody should be if you live in or own a property in Norman. Check out that video replay of what we talked about, and there will be further discussion down the road about that plan and how we are prepared for weather disasters in Norman. Also, would let everybody know that I will be in the dunk tank as well at 3 o'clock, I believe, this Sunday at Westwood. So last time I was in it, I sent an email to the district attorney's office and said if anybody in there wants to come down. This was shortly after the Friendly Market case, so we raised quite a bit of money. One of the ADAs bought 60 pitches to throw at me. So, if any of you have a beef with any of us, it's a good opportunity to take it out in a really fun and supportive way that supports a good cause in town. So come on out with that. And then I would also mention National Night Out is a great opportunity for neighbors and city government and the police and fire and everybody to get to know each other a little bit better, specifically neighbors, as we've in an age where it's become more and more common that people don't know who their neighbors are. National Night Out is an opportunity for us to get back out in the driveways, on the front porch, and have a cookout or some sort of gathering, get to know each other. It's always a good opportunity for us. I don't know if we're doing it this year, but we usually get a police escort and get to go visit all the neighborhood picnics and parties. And so it's just a really good opportunity for neighbors and neighborhoods to get to know each other, come together, talk about some of the issues you might have going on, and maybe think about how we might be able to address those issues together. So that's all I got for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate my colleagues bringing up National Night Out. And if you happen to be at Sooner Mall at 5 o'clock on October 3rd, just preceding National Night Out, there will be a rededication of Safety Town, which is a great little asset to our community. It teaches kids about public safety, and all three of my kids have gone through it, and they've just had a great time with it. So please come back out, come support that rededication on October 3rd at 5 o'clock. And then this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Max Westheimer Airport is having its 16th annual aviation festival. And this is a great event where they bring out modern aircraft, vintage aircraft, and you get to have a really up close and personal look with some of those great pieces of machinery out there. So come out and support this wonderful asset that we have in our community. Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's all I have.
The only thing I have to add to that is my time in the duck tank is 3:30, and bring your money. So, On to the consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda. What would I need, basically? These are by unanimous consent, can designate these routine agenda items as they wish to be approved or acknowledged by one motion. And I hear what you're saying about people not being able to read that. And thank you for that. We'll put it under consideration. I need a motion, please, to place items 3 through 20 on the consent docket.
So moved.
I have a motion and second. The motion is to place items 3 through 20 on the consent docket. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast. Items 3 through 20 on the consent doc passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. As a point of clarification for those here tonight or watching from home, items 18 through 20 related to the University North Park Business Improvement District and the Downtown Business Improvement District are being postponed tonight until October 11th, 2022, to allow time for legal notice. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent docket. Okay. You did.
Did we already? Yeah.
We just did that.
Thought so.
Motion's approved.
We placed them.
Oh, to place
This is to
8.
adopt it. Yeah,
We have questions.
after you get the motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
What am I doing?
But what if we end up wanting
Okay.
to postpone something?
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent docket.
So moved.
I have a motion and second. Are there any comments from council regarding any item? Councilmember?
So I have questions regarding number 9 for the purchase of the van. If someone wants to come speak to that. Hey.
Good evening, Taylor Johnson, Transit and Parking Program Manager.
Hey, Taylor. So just for a little bit of background, so this was originally proposed in an RFP regarding the homeless study, where a gaps analysis revealed that homeless needed additional transportation to get to and from where they needed to go, whether that be to appointments, services, social service, security services up and more, whatever the case may be. That's what was identified in the gap analysis. However, after the RFP was submitted, there was some additional services that we found gaps in as well around Norman. And so it was identified that multiple uses or multiple entities could use these vans for different services. So as a result, we talked about purchasing these vans ahead of time because we knew that they were back ordered. So some of the questions that I had, because the cost of these are pretty high, it's basically $160,000 a vehicle, which you can go and buy a van, I think probably for $80,000 and get a pretty good sized van. And I know putting a electric lift on it for handicap ADA accessible runs about $30,000 to $40,000. So trying to save the city a little bit of money is what I'm really concerned with. And I'm just curious, and I know other people have also reached out to me with those same concerns of why these vans. And so one of the reasons is because there's multiple uses. It's not just for taking homeless to appointments. There's other entities that need these vans. But the question, my main concern is what does the purchase process look like for the city? And I don't know if you can answer that or if Daryl had looked that up for me. But why do we have to go with these specific vans? And can we not look for more cost-friendly options for our taxpayers, since this is our money that we're going to be using?
Yeah, Catherine may be able to elaborate more, but we do follow the Competitive Bidding Act, so we can't simply just go buy any vehicle. But these are on the state contract, and we had experience buying these from the state contract before for the transit program. So that's why we went forward with this costing, or got a quote from the vendor and proceeded to bring this to council for consideration. It does include the ramp that you're talking about, as well as CNG conversion. These will be CNG, so that'll hopefully save the city money over time with maintenance and fuel. But Catherine, you may be able to elaborate on that.
Before you do, I want to elaborate a little bit on the CNG since you brought that up. It's my understanding that with the CNG component, that it takes up the entire back storage area on those vans. Is that correct?
Well, on these in particular, it does take up a little bit, maybe a quarter. The tank is, if you're looking in the back, it's flat across the back. They put a carpeted shell, if you will, over it, so you don't necessarily see it. It doesn't take up all the storage, but it does take up a little bit.
Okay, so there still would be storage room for, because if we are, let's just be real, if we are using these for homeless people part-time, they have a lot of bags that they carry with them and a lot of items, so we will need a place to put those items. So I would hate to purchase something where now we have an issue of how are you going to get in here with your mini bags?
Well, and that's probably more of a program issue as we get into the use and what that looks like. If it's a shared ride vehicle, I'm not sure how many, again, we'll have to work it out with the program, but how many bags can a person bring? What can they bring? Those kind of things will have to be worked out.
Okay. Sorry, thank you.
Sure. So not only do we have the state law for competitive bidding, but our ordinance requires it as well. And so state contracts are one way that our ordinance allows us to save the time of putting out a bid package and asking for bids to come in. It's been bid at the state level using the same procedures that are required under state law, and that saves us some time and gives us an opportunity to grab something that's been bid at a larger scale, which usually there's some cost savings to that. They don't have everything on the state contract by any means, but that is a big savings for us, and if we can find something that we need or that meets our specifications on that state contract, we try to use it when we can. But we can't, unfortunately, just go to a dealership on something that's over $50,000 and purchase the car that way because of our ordinances.
So the ordinance, you're saying that on one hand, that it's already bid that way with the state, and so it's just easier to find. But on the other hand, based off of how our ordinance is written, we legally just can't go to a dealership.
Right.
Is there any way that if we did go to a dealership that could come back before council or go to the people for a vote? Or is it just completely 100% you can't do it?
Well, it's not allowed under our ordinance. The ordinance would have to be amended. But,
Okay.
We amended it probably 2008 or 2009 and updated that amount. But again, because we're buying off state contract, we're already exempting ourselves from those procedures because we followed the state procedure for competitive bidding.
Okay. And then, so I just want to make sure, because I know that was a lot of concern that came in of, well, what about these types of vehicles that may be more cost-effective or more user-friendly for uses? But again, we're using this for more than one thing, it sounds like. And then we're also, based off of our city ordinances, we're following our own ordinances and laws, and this is how we have to do it.
Correct.
Okay. And then the last thing that I wanted to ask is, just to clarify, whenever I looked at that, it said that this came out of the general fund budget for the service equipment. So is this not coming out of the $500,000 that we moved towards the crisis response?
It is. I think that's just the account name. But Anthony, is that correct? Yeah.
That's the correct bucket.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. That's all the questions that I have for that.
Thank you.
Councilmember Green?
Is it on? Okay. Item 15, and with the idea that there are people listening at home that can't read that, it is the consideration of acceptance, approval, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of a grant in the amount of $55,015 from the Oklahoma Highway Safety Office, OHSO, to be used by the police department to conduct high-visibility enforcement saturation patrols, information education campaigns directed toward traffic safety, participation in 8 OHSO mobilizations, approval of contract K-2223-52, and budget appropriation as outlined in the staff report. So I didn't hear about it in our study sessions or in our recent committees, so I would just like to know more history of this program, and I have about 5 questions.
Yes, we've been getting a highway safety grant for numerous years. This year it was reduced because we didn't do all the enforcement that they expected, or we just couldn't, we didn't have the people to do all the overtime. So it was reduced to 55 something there.
That kind of leads into my first question.
Okay.
How many years have we accepted this grant? Like, when was it approved?
I worked on this grant back in the early 2000s. I was the person that managed these grants back then, so probably well over 20 years.
The other question was related to that. Has anything changed over the years in the program or the administration of the grant? I'm already hearing that there was a price difference this year, but and can you like see a trajectory of like thoughts on any of these policing tactics? Like some have been scaled back, some have been added more because they're actually effective.
Yes, definitely. It has changed a lot over the years. Before, you would send people out to do just patrol. Now it is more of a saturation patrol where we have high accident locations. Some of that has worked, and our whole plan is to reduce accidents, primarily injury and death accidents. To give you an example of a location where it has worked, it would be 12th and Alameda. That was usually a high accident location for us regularly, year after year after year. Still a lot of accidents there, but went down to sort of a medium priority when you're looking at the areas. Downtown has picked up. The area still on Main Street from 24th to I-35 has picked up. I'm hoping that the area on Robinson there between 24th and Crossroads is reducing, going down due to the new configuration there. I hope to see some gains there because that's something that was very hard to do enforcement on. But the high visibility traffic enforcement seems to be working for us. Accidents are reducing, primarily the injury and fatality accidents. Although I don't think we can affect fatalities a whole lot, we can affect the actions that contribute to those sometimes.
So that leads to, are there studies or data that show the efficacy of this program? And it sounds like it's going to be weird because it's changed over the years.
Yes, the federal program that we had been on, sort of scaled back from it, was the data-driven approaches to crime and traffic safety. And it's a high visibility patrol. But on that, we seen the effects on the accidents, but we don't see the effects on the crime necessarily. That is part of what the new unit would do, the PACE unit that you've heard about. And as we get more people on, we'll add more people to that unit. And if you listen to our most recent grant that we got from the Attorney General, when Oklahoma City spoke, they sort of spoke about the same type of program that we would do, of sending people out to the neighborhoods. You talk to the people, see what the problems are. They'll tell you, yeah, this is the drug house, these people are the problem. That way, when we make a plan to go out and address the criminal problems, it's not as likely that we're going to be stopping people that are not involved in it. We can be more focused on that, which I think will be a great thing for the neighborhood.
And then this goes to the administration of this particular grant. I noticed it says you have 2 mandatory stops per hour. Are they across the city or per location where the patrols would be?
That's across the city, wherever they would be assigned. Generally, that would be high accident locations, and the person that's managing the grants for the department will determine those locations and move people around. Because that's the old way, was just, hey, here's the locations, go out and do this. And they would go wherever, which they could go to, location where it's very easy to catch speeders and get their 2 contacts. Well, that's not what we want to do. We want to reduce accidents, so we want them in high accident locations. So the person managing the grant gives them the location that they do, and those will be around the city in different locations each time.
And then, well, I said 5, but I'm kind of curious. So are you the one administering the grant?
I will not administer the grant. I had my time in there.
Who is?
It will be a lieutenant on, probably on patrol. We did have that it was Lieutenant Garnand last year. I think we're going to move it to a new lieutenant to learn this program.
And this last one comes just because I saw an accident in Ward 4. It was a drunk driving thing. So how will this grant help us in the future with the SEC and drunk driving or reckless driving, or should we be looking at other DUI and crash preventative measures to complement this program?
Definitely always look at other ways to complement this program. This program definitely will assist us in making it safer for people coming in and out to lower the number of accidents. We don't normally deploy on game days because all of our staffing is taken answering calls and just working the game. But overall in the areas, not on a game day, maybe on a basketball game or something like that, football game days is what I'm talking about. We could deploy on those days and look for drunk drivers. That's definitely an issue, and drug drivers that are driving while impaired that way. Both is what we would look for. Definitely a good point to make. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, thanks for answering those questions. I don't have any more. Does anybody else?
Chief, just for a little clarification, when you say 2 contacts, do you mean 2 tickets?
No, it's just 2 contacts an hour. We don't, the highway safety, the federal grant only, it suggests 2 tickets be your contacts that they get per hour. It can be a warning, it can be a ticket. It's just them making a traffic contact.
So there's no quota system going on here?
No, a quota would be, yeah, that's where we'd punish them. This is making sure that when we're giving people money to go do something, the federal government wants to make sure that we are doing the thing that they want us to do. This grant is specific to work traffic, and I don't think it's unreasonable to expect them to get 2 contacts an hour. I can drive from one place to another and see people making traffic violations, and we have people call us all the time about the traffic violations. So I don't think it's unreasonable. I think you have a work expectation.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Studley?
You kind of asked what I was going to ask
was that?
about. Part of it was about the quota, because I know that's something that you had said previously, is that Norman does not have quotas. And so I just want to make sure that this isn't that.
No.
And so there's a difference between tickets and just a stop. And so something that I remember this grant in 2020, I specifically remember Kate Bierman up here talking about patrolling more in 12th and Lindsay because of some of the accidents that were going on over there. So right now, based off of the reports, where are these patrols going to be?
There could be some at 12th and Alameda. 12th and Lindsay was another high location, and it probably is a moderate location like Alameda has moved to. The higher locations now, I believe, is sort of in the downtown area here along Main, still out on Main between 24th and I-35, up off Tecumseh and Flood area, bad accidents there. That's another high accident location. And then south by Campus Corner area on Boyd, right around that Campus Corner area, is a high accident location.
So since this is like from the state highway patrol or state?
Oklahoma Highway Safety Administration.
Okay, so Highway 9, is that patrolled by us?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what I was.
That is another location. You are correct. We could be out there.
That's crazy.
Yes.
So that's where I
Yes,
feel like.
you are correct.
I know just from me personally, I see people fly down that road all the time. And if you see a cop sitting on, is it 80th or 72nd, like in those areas, it makes a big difference just to have a presence of an officer there. So I
Yes.
understand 100% the need for this program. I just want to make sure that we're not focusing on areas anymore that maybe don't need it, and look at some areas like you were talking about where now it's more higher accidents since we've reduced
Yes.
some of these. So I'm glad to know that in the past, these programs have worked and have shown improvement in those areas. And hopefully it can do it for Highway 9, since that's the most dangerous
would be
highway
great.
in the world or whatever, or the US. So
Yes.
Yeah, that was all that I had, so thank you.
Any other questions? All right. The motion on the floor is to approve the consent docket. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to approve the consent docket passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 21, a resolution amending the Norman 2025 land use plan, a land use and transportation plan, so as to place property located on the northwest corner of East Tecumseh Road and 12th Avenue Northeast in the low-density residential designation and remove it from the commercial designation. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the resolution. Have a motion and second. Is there a representative from the applicant?
Sean Rieger representing the applicant in this case, the applicant being Ideal Homes, Zach Roach with me, behind me here. I'll try to keep this one really brief. This one has come through the process extremely cleanly. We are up on 12th Avenue Northeast and East Tecumseh Road. This is Red Canyon Ranch, which has been an ongoing development of Ideal Homes, a very successful development of Ideal Homes. And what you're seeing is the hard corner of 12th Avenue and Tecumseh. And this is a down zoning in effect, basically. We are taking the corner from commercial down to an extended area of residential. So let me take you through it quickly here. That's the 2025 plan that was showing commercial. And we did the original Red Canyon quite a long time ago. Councilman Roman, you may have been on the council when we did that, I think. It's been quite some time. And it was intended to have a commercial corner, but as we've seen more and more in the modern era of development, we're sort of moving more to residential than commercial in some of the locations, and this is one of those. It is a PUD, the pink is a PUD, and we're just extending the PUD to it. So in brief, this is about 12 and a half acres, 28 additional residential lots. This will match the rest of Red Canyon Ranch. Really no difference in the proposal. It's a downzoning from commercial to single family, and it does still allow for the multi-generational housing component. I just want to touch on that because that's been really a groundbreaking move of Ideal Homes to do this, and this was something that came through a few years back where we amended Red Canyon Ranch to do multi-generational housing. That's an example of the floor plan where we have what is referred to as an in-law suite, so it's a bedroom and a bath and a tiny little kitchenette and a separate entry. I think it's important to note the PUD specifically says this cannot be rented as a separate unit. The PUD also has very specific extensions into it that says it cannot have separate utilities, it cannot have a separate mailbox. So we have a lot of protections in here to make sure this doesn't become a duplex, and I think it's worked pretty well. We haven't had any issues that I'm aware of. Green space, this is the green space. There's an easement running through it and a common area on the upper right. In summary, the staff report says this PUD will change the use of the site from commercial to single-family residential, matching the rest of Red Canyon Ranch addition. Nobody appeared at the pre-development hearing. Nobody appeared at Planning Commission to speak. And there's been no protests, really nothing at all that I'm aware of any controversy. So with that, Planning Commission gave it unanimous approval, and we would be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you very much.
Are there any comments from council regarding this item? Councilmember Foreman?
I was just going to say I'm a big fan of the work that Ideal Homes does, and I appreciate all of the thought and everything that goes into the intentional work that you do. I lost thousands of constituents in the reapportionment, so let's bring some back. Let's get Ward 6 back up again. So I look forward to supporting this tonight. So thank you.
Councilmember Peacock?
I'm just in reference to this common area in the northeast corner. Is that intended to be used for a detention area, or is detention handled elsewhere on the site?
Correct, yes, that would be a drainage area. It's not a common play area. I would just note, just north of this is a new splash pad they just put in with the recreational area for that, so this would be a detention area, yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Holman?
Two questions. The utility easement that's running across it like that, at Tecumseh and 12th, where it runs across, will that be an open, will there be a fence connecting that, or will it be open? Where the utility easement's running across?
Detail, you're asking, are we fencing across the easement location?
Yeah, like what would
Thought
be
about that yet, Zach?
backing towards Tecumseh, I guess. Because I've got a cul-de-sac in Ward 7 where they're trying to put a fence in a gap right now that's similar, maybe.
It's a good question. So we kind of handle this a little differently. I obviously want to steer clear, I'm sorry, Zach Roach, 1320 North Porter. Start off by saying that. We want to handle this very delicately because we don't want to go poking holes where there's a high-pressure gas line. And so what I envision doing there is there'll be a decorative fence on either side of the 50-foot easement, and then abutting the north-south portions of the easement will be a 4-foot split rail fence, which provides for both pedestrian safety feeling, having eyes on people walking back there, and also opens up that green space a little bit. I intend on having a gap in between there as long as the city will let me do that. If not, I may have to bridge that with some sort of longer fence paneling in there as well. But if we do that, we'll handle that through, a combination of, tree plantings and stuff like that so that we have to keep the aesthetic.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good idea to have access to the main, so people don't have to walk through the whole neighborhood to get to the main road if they want to.
Absolutely.
And then I did watch the Planning Commission about it, but we have heard discussions in the past about the need to preserve commercial corners in Norman. So this corner has some topographical issues that can make it very difficult to develop, I think, in that way. But could you maybe just briefly go over the reasoning for this change, given that there has been kind of a focus on commercial corners in the past?
Absolutely. I must say that I'm also a resident of Red Canyon Ranch. I had grand visions of taking my electric scooter and getting a Slurpee and a beef jerky stick at the gas station there. And that I'm very sad that that is not going to happen. So there was nobody who wanted this to happen more than I did. Over the period of about 12 or 14 years, I think we've zoned this in 2007, we have tried through a number of different entities to be able to sell this off, and each one of them have fallen through for numerous reasons, not the least of which was partially the topographical reasons and also some of the gas line stuff within those topographical areas. And so once we got, a decade or a little bit more into it, we said, okay, let's back up and see if we can do something with this. And we thought that this would be the best use, in conformity with the neighborhood. And so that's what we decided to do.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Schuler?
Yeah, my comment was also going to be about preserving commercial corners and trying to understand too what is currently happening on the south, the lot just to the south that is a commercial lot still. So there isn't currently anything developed on that land, right? And then what are the other corners currently zoned as?
Yeah, so I would sort of echo, I was the zoning attorney on it. First, I'll get to your question real just a moment, but I want to echo a little bit. I was the zoning attorney when we originally did this, and it was originally planned, Richard McCown laid this out as with a commercial corner that's integral to it with, we showed banks, church, and as Zach said, I could tell you firsthand over the years, they just never worked. And so it just never worked. And there are access issues because of the topography off of Tecumseh and 12th as well. The other two corners, Councilmember, are still zoned commercial. You see, this is 2025, or I should say planned commercial, 2025 on the southwest corner, still available. And then on the southeast corner, that is shown as mixed use, but the hard corner would be intended to be commercial as well. So there are still opportunities here. And the northeast corner, I will tell you, there's been plays over the years for that corner as well to be eventually brought into service area, and I think that might happen eventually too.
So my other question was about kind of the site plan and the plat, I guess, or what was the decision to keep, I guess, it internal? So not creating any more access points to Tecumseh or 12th. So you'll route the traffic through the current roads, correct?
Yes, and I mean, maybe that screen will show it pretty well. We have good access points from the south. You can see right here, if the pointer will go there, really not very far away. And then we have a good access point to the north on 12th. So really very close by are the access points on Tecumseh and 12th. And I could tell you, Mr. O'Leary is pretty strident at trying to keep us from accessing onto the arterials as little as possible, particularly close to corners. So it would, just speculating, but my speculation would be that Mr. O'Leary would rather us not access onto the arterials from this corner.
Perfect. Just wanted to get clarification on that because, just people going through and just safety and kind of all of that.
Yeah.
So thanks.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Studley?
So can you kind of expand a little bit about the gas situation? I guess I'm curious, why is it not okay for commercial, but it's okay for residents to be on top of this? What is it?
Talk about it first, and then I can get on there, but we have separation, the easements have separation distances that keep us away from those lines, and these are pretty common. I don't know if the city attorney or Rashawn wants to talk about this too, but we have separation within those easements that keep the habitable structures away from them for an adequate distance. So sort of built in when they do these easements, that they have the distance sort of built in so you can't build close to it. That's pretty common in all of development that I've ever experienced.
But I mean, why, I guess, how can you put a house on it then, but not a commercial business?
We're not putting a house on it, and the commercial wouldn't have been on top of it either. It would have been, so that area, that large, see that large line going through there? That you can't build on that. So nothing can be built on top of that area where the easement is. So that easement protects the utility and the line from any encroachment that would be too close to it. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, but then I guess it goes back to then why couldn't you do a commercial one on there if you're putting houses? How do you design some commercial that keeps this access? Because you have to access through the neighborhood. Gotcha. Never mind.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Schuler. Thank you for the assistance.
I was just trying to grasp like house versus commercial gas line. I was a little freaked out, but that makes sense now.
Okay, all right.
All right, we're good.
Councilmember Schuler?
Sorry, just for clarification, I was talking about the configuration of how you would be able to configure something commercial on this lot. You can't put it over top the easement, and so it probably provides a weird site design and access for the lot. That's what I was trying to explain.
It limits us. I think that's a great explanation, and part of commercial is you get much larger buildings and parking lots. You have a much bigger footprint when you're dealing with commercial, which as a designer, it gives you a lot less flexibility. Houses are little bitty pieces that you can move around like a small jigsaw puzzle, so a lot more flexible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? This is an opportunity for members of the public to make comments regarding this item. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
Hi, my name is Evan Dunn.
Hold on a minute, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Did you sign up for a meeting, speaking time, sir?
No.
Okay. We have one person signed up to speak on this, so you have to sign up for speaking time.
On each issue? On each item?
Yes, sir. Ms. Rogers?
Good evening, Cynthia Rogers, still Ward 4, same old house that I love. So just one question, and that is, I understand that there are rules about subletting, but how is that going to be enforced? I'm just curious about enforcement of that. We have enforcement issues about other rules in town about who lives where. So, you know, what's a neighbor going to do if somebody is actually just sort of under the table renting out the extra room and not treating it as a sort of mother-in-law or father-in-law or mother-father sort of situation? Thank you.
Are there any final regarding this item? Seeing none. The motion on the floor is to adopt the resolution. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to adopt the resolution passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 22, ordinance rezoning property located on the northwest corner of East Tecumseh Road and 12th Avenue Northeast from Planned Unit Development District to Planned Unit Development District for residential uses. Entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on the second reading, section by section.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. This is a companion item to the previous item. Are there any further comments from council regarding this item? Madam Clerk, are there any further public comments? There are no.
No.
No further public comments. Are there any final comments from council? Okay. The motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on second reading. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have to adopt the ordinance upon second reading passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on final reading.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on final reading. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to adopt the ordinance on final reading passes unanimously.
Outstanding. Item 23, a preliminary plat for Red Canyon Ranch East, a planned unit development. I'll entertain a motion to approve or reject the preliminary plat.
Second.
I have a motion and second. This is the previous two items. Are there any further comments from council regarding this item? Oop. None? I saw her hand. Madam Clerk, are there any further public comments signed up for? All right, hearing none. Are there any final, we just asked that question. The motion on the floor is to approve the preliminary plat. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to approve the preliminary plat passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 24, a resolution amending the Norman 2025 Land Use and Transportation Plan so as to remove property located at 621 Highland Parkway from the low-density residential designation and place it in the commercial designation. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the resolution.
Motion to adopt. Second.
A motion and second. Is there a representative for the applicant to make a presentation? Hi, sir.
Mr. Mayor, council member, my name is Bill Hayes. I'm with D.L. Hayes Company, and I'm representing the owner, Andy Darks, on this project, where we're trying to actually change the zoning from R1 to C2, or simple planned unit development. So we can build about a 3,900 square foot storage commercial type building on this lot. So, any other questions?
There will be, sir. Are there any questions from council regarding this item? Councilmember, your button doesn't work.
Button's not working. I don't know if anybody else's button's not working either.
We're having a technical problem. There's a voting thing up here. So, Councilmember?
I was just going to say, so part of the SPUD was to provide some kind of solid description about what it would be used for by the current owner and by any future owner, actually, too. So the SPUD, or SPUD, as it's written, is restrictive to what you're wanting to do with it. Is that the way I understand it?
Correct, correct.
That's the only question I really had about it currently.
Councilmember Studley?
It was Schuler.
Oh. Councilmember Schuler?
Yeah, so I remember this coming to us before and watched it again at planning. So I think there have been changes that have been made to clarify what the allowable uses are.
Correct.
That it is specific to the garage and allowing for storage of vehicle.
That's correct.
Correct? Okay, just wanted to get that kind of clarified now that going through this process and, having it be a SPUD instead of a commercial designation allows for clarification and, tailoring of what the allowable use will be. So I want to say thank you for hanging in there. I understand that the process wasn't easy and has been kind of difficult to get through, but I appreciate you sticking with it and, tailoring it down to what exactly the property owner intends to use it specifically for.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Are there any comments from the public? Anybody sign up?
Cynthia Rogers? Never mind, okay.
Hearing none. Any final comments? No? Who did? Councilmember Grant?
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the applicant taking a previous council suggestion to come back with the SPUD. I think what we have tonight is a good compromise for this area, and for those reasons, I will be supporting this item tonight.
All right. The motion on the floor is to adopt the resolution. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast. The resolution passes unanimously.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. Item number 25, an ordinance rezoning property located at 621 North Highland Parkway from R1 Single Family Dwelling District to SPUD Simple Planned Unit Development. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on second reading, section by section.
Motion to adopt.
I have a motion and second. This is a companion item to the previous item. Are there any further comments from council regarding the item? Seeing none. Motion on, there's nobody else signed up. The motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on second reading. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to adopt the ordinance on second reading passes unanimously.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on final reading.
So moved.
I have a motion and second. Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on final reading. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast. Adopt the ordinance on final reading passes unanimously.
Excellent, thank you. Item number 26, a resolution amending the Norman 2025 Land Use and Transportation Plan to remove property located at 765 Jenkins Avenue from the low-density residential and place it in the mixed-use designation. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the resolution.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and second. Is there a representative for the applicant?
John Rieger representing the applicant in this case, and we're moving to Ward 4 on this one with Councilmember Grant, and I want to immediately give Councilmember Grant our appreciation. We've been working with her on this item for a couple of weeks now and working through some edits on the SPUD to submit to you tonight, and we submitted those to Brenda Hall, and I have paper copies as well that I'll bring up just so you'll see. So let me take you through the project. This is a small project on Jenkins Avenue in Ward 4. Let me show you where we're at. Oh, this is Highland. Hold on here. Get it down. Here we go. All right, so we're down on Jenkins, and this is just north of Boyd Street. You can see OU is really just south of here. The Energy Center is right there on the southeast. Engineering building's there on the southwest. Boyd Street and Jenkins right here. And this is just a little site right there, right across the street from the Greek House. It is an older house that is not there anymore. This has been leveled, so this is a vacant lot at this point. And this proposal is to put in a mixed-use building. This site is currently zoned R3, and that's why we're here, because R3 does not allow for commercial. So if it was just R3 and we were just doing residential, we really wouldn't need to be here. But this is in the exempt area of CCFBC of the Center City Code, and so this is R3. So we want to have a commercial first floor to this project, and so we're here to do a SPUD to allow for that, basically. It's really a very small project, very simple. It's a mixed-use 3-story building. It allows for commercial uses on the ground floor and multifamily on the upper 2 stories above it. The building height is limited to 3 stories and with a usable rooftop space for tenants only. You can see the site plan is right here. It's basically very simple, just a structure, which really I should have shown you is going to be on almost the same footprint as the existing structure was, very similar, with green space around it and with parking in the back. And this is tandem parking that we have. And Center City is common for tandem parking. They have quite a few examples of it now in Center City that have been put in place and have worked, I think, fairly successfully. And so this is a project that would have the ground floor as commercial, the upper 2 stories as residential with green space all around it and bike racks just behind it, right in the back there, and the alley behind. As far as impervious, we just wanted to make note that this is actually less impervious than what was there before. You can see the engineered calculations of 69% impervious area previously, this new project. And there you see the footprint, very similar footprint to what was there before, is an impervious area of 65.7%. So we worked really hard to get it down to 65%. We got to 65.7. Hopefully that works with us. And so in summary, this is the staff report. Given the site's proximity to Center City form-based code and Campus Corner, this proposal does not deviate from the general location's vision. No neighbors appeared at pre-development. This one also had nobody appear at Plan Commission. We've got no phone calls, nothing on it, no protest, and it was unanimous at Plan Commission. Since Plan Commission, Councilmember Grant reached out to us and asked if we would consider some revisions to the SPUD as far as uses go. And we had a good meeting with Councilmember, and we've been working back and forth today and the last couple of days to do that. And what I've handed to the mayor is those edits, which takes out a number of uses in the SPUD that Councilmember Grant had concerns about. So we're happy to do that. And we're requesting that that is the SPUD that gets approved tonight, please. So with that, happy to answer any questions. Again, thank you, Councilmember Grant, for your help on this. We appreciate it.
Sean, could you read the uses that are being omitted for
I
everyone,
can,
please?
yes, definitely. Let me get to it here. We are eliminating. And Brenda, I just realized I handed you the copy I was looking at. Let me grab one of those back, and I will read it. Okay, so we are eliminating childcare center, automobile parking lots, childcare daycare establishment, hotel or motel, small animal hospital, and sewing machine sales. Those uses would be stricken under the revised SPUD that is put in tonight.
No sewing machines.
No sewing machines, I'm sorry. We get this question a lot. Let me just answer it and tell you where these lists come from, because somebody, I think, thinks we sit there in our office and we think we need to have sewing machines. They don't. These lists come from your city code of zoning, which is C1, and that's where we draw these lists from generally. And so, you know, as an attorney, you worry, okay, well, if I didn't put in one of those and a sewing machine shop wants to go in there, and then somebody says, well, you didn't put it in there, but it is in C1, so you must have intentionally meant that that's not supposed to be in there. And so that's where you get into the back and forth thinking when you're writing these lists. But that's where those words come from. But we understand the council member's concern, and we struck that out.
Are there any comments from council? Oh, yes, sir. Councilmember Homer.
So the tandem parking spaces is definitely something we've talked about for a long time in the Center City area. Are these tandem spaces assigned to the unit?
We haven't gotten that far yet, but likely they will be. I should have shown you the supplemental slide just to show you these are common in Center City area. Here's Sims and Santa Fe, and you see the bubble. Those are all tandem developed spaces that have them. I think that gets into the management issue of the property and whether they decide to assign them to spaces, or I think it's a lease by lease issue of how you deal with that.
Okay. Seems like it'd probably be easier to get someone that lives in the same apartment as you to move their car than someone that lives in a different apartment. But something to consider there. And then are there any renderings, or what is the building going to look like, actually?
We don't have renderings, but we have said candidly and repeatedly that we will honor the spirit of Center City Code. Center City Code, this is the exempt area, but it has quite a bit of guidance, obviously, on what the exterior should look like. Joey Wishnick, to be the builder on this, has committed that we would honor that vision. Now, the code doesn't apply to this site, but we would honor the vision of what the exteriors need to look like.
And you're not going side to, or border to border, basically, and you're not bringing it forward to the street, the 5 foot, right?
That's correct.
But that is still preserving the existing street line, so.
Correct. And we really kind of honored the existing, there you go, that's probably the best look. You can see it right there as far as the footprint goes. That would honor what was there before
Okay.
and honor that street line.
And since it's not property line to property line, the sides would have windows too, I assume?
Correct.
Okay. That's all the questions I have right now.
Councilmember Schuler?
So my question was, I have a couple questions, but one of them was also about the tandem parking. So as far as I would think that this would work best as like a driveway situation, right? Where like, you know, I have a driveway and then someone who also lives in my house, then, you know, we'd have to figure out like what's going on. So my hope is that the property management would assign them in that capacity, because it seems that it would be difficult if it was customers
Right.
to the business on the bottom floor, because that might be challenging for people to kind of figure
Yeah.
it out. Or is this intended more to be kind of a walkable, walk-up business?
Very much that is what we're hoping and intending, and we had good conversations about that, as an example, a lot of food vendors are now going to delivery. And we could envision that might be a pretty good use here, that especially for the students in this area, that this be a restaurant, but a lot of walk-in, grab-and-go, things like that. So we think there's a lot of potential for that. We think there's a potential for the people living above to be working below. We think that actually has very good possibilities, because it could be students that need a job, and that could be a good possibility. So we think there's a lot of creative solutions to do this.
Is there already an idea of the business that will be located in this location?
Not yet. There is one business, we want to be careful to not say what that business would be, but we think there is a business that would be a food delivery restaurant, primarily delivery kind of business. Yeah.
Okay, those are just kind of my main questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stogley? No? Councilmember Grant?
Did we talk about stormwater or the drain plan?
I don't know if we did or not, but I can show you. Basically, again, the impervious is less than what was there before. We have green space. If you see the existing, all of this is concrete along the south edge. We are actually putting green grass all along the south edge. So we're putting green all around the building so that we can absorb as much water as possible around the building. And so that's very much likely to be a much better stormwater condition than what was there before.
Any other comments from council? All right, there are no people signed up. I'll get the verb right. From things, is there any final comments? Hearing none? What? Councilmember Peacock, you snuck in on me.
Thank you. I just want to, commend you for honoring the spirit of the Center City Code. I know you guys aren't holding to the standards of it, but it does mean a lot that you guys are willing to try to play by those rules as best as possible. And I for one can appreciate the increased density in the area and also the active storefront on the ground floor. So I think these are all things that we want to see in the area, and I want to commend you on taking that leap.
Thank you. All right. Councilmember Grant?
I was just going to say, given the time that I had to work with the applicant and the productive conversation we had regarding allowable uses and the resulting edits made after those discussions, I'm going to support this project tonight. In the future, I want folks to understand that I'm looking for special uses that are tailored to the project being presented. A SPUD is a special zoning district that provides an alternative approach to land use controls to maximize the unique physical features of the site or produce unique, progressive, or quality land developments. Mixed-use development in this part of Norman is a reasonable change to make and may help to activate the surrounding neighborhood and businesses with things like increased walkability. On council, we understand the need for high density in this area of Norman. Forecasting for the future, we are looking for more units and less bedrooms, as that housing type has been identified as a need. And just for the record, I'm always going to be interested in stormwater. And as we all know, we don't have a stormwater utility, so this is how we address it, is parcel by parcel.
All right. Councilmember Schuler?
Yeah, I want to echo what Councilmember Grant and Councilmember Peacock were talking about with kind of what we're envisioning with Center City, density, kind of walkability in this area with the proximity to Campus Corner, to the university. I think it's a positive step in the right direction to think about mixed use and kind of what those spaces are going to look like. So I'm glad that we're starting to see some of this type of project come forward to us. I also commend you on having the conversation with the council member of the ward to tailor down some of those allowable uses and being amenable to that process. So thank you so much for being willing to do that.
Councilmember Smedley?
I just want to echo what other council members have said, specifically Councilmember Schuler at the end there. Really tailoring those spuds down to very specific uses, I think makes a big deal to us as well as the neighborhood, the surrounding neighborhood. And so just listening to what the council members who have talked to the residents around the neighborhood are saying makes a big difference and helps things like this move along. So thank you for listening and making those changes.
Councilmember Foreman?
Thank you for not making it a mini dorm. That's all.
Excellent. All right, the motion on the floor is to adopt the resolution. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast. Adopted land use plan amendment passes unanimously.
And item number 27, an ordinance rezoning property at 765 Jenkins Avenue from R3 Multifamily Dwelling District to SPUD Simple Planned Unit Development District. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on the second, section by section.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
A motion and second. I will now entertain a motion to amend the SPUD narrative.
So moved.
I have a motion and second. Are there any comments from council regarding this amendment? Hearing none. No, nobody signed up to speak from the public. Are there any final comments from council regarding this? Excellent. The motion on the floor is to amend the SPUD narrative to remove child care center, automobile parking lots, child care, daycare establishment, hotel or motel, small animal hospital, and sewing machine sales as allowable uses. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been, amendment passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. This is a companion item to the previous item. Are there any further comments from council regarding this item as amended? Hearing none. Madam, there are no signed up. Are there any final comments? Excellent. Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on the second reading as amended. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to adopt the ordinance upon second reading as amended passes unanimously.
Excellent. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on the final reading as amended.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on final reading as amended. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to adopt the ordinance upon final reading passes unanimously as amended.
Excellent. An ordinance, item number 28, an ordinance granting special use for municipal use for property located north of East Robinson Street, approximately 2,000 of 24th Avenue Northeast, currently in the A1 General Agricultural District. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on second reading, section by section.
Motion to adopt.
I have a motion and second. Recognize Mr. Nathan Maidenwall.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. So this item that we have before you is a special use that we're essentially amending a past special use that we did in October of 2019. This is for the site for the Emergency Operations Center and also for the line maintenance facility that we've had planned. We have a couple of, when we were starting the project, when we did the initial special use, we weren't as far along in our design as we are now. And there's been some site changes for the Emergency Operations Center. So I have here with us Barrett Williamson, who's our designer. and I want to turn it over to him. He'll run through the site and be happy to answer any questions afterwards.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, this is just an exterior rendering of the facility. One of the things that we asked some relief on was to not have to comply with the 80% masonry for pre-engineered metal buildings, which was also granted for the two new properties on North Base. Our property is 1,000 feet north of the edge of Robinson, about 20 feet above the level of the street. So it's to the water tower, which this is right adjacent to, is about 1/4 mile. This is an aerial that shows the EOC to the right-hand side of the screen and the line maintenance facility more in the center. This shows a new road that's going to go in. I'll back up here. I'm not sure how to get the pointer to work.
It's working.
So there's going to be a new access road that comes up. The current access to the site is across the street from the water treatment plant, and it runs up by where that pond-looking area is here and loops around over to the water tower here, and then it kind of makes a loop back through the site. The new road will connect the EOC, and then there's going to be a access control gate that will be open during business hours that will allow the public to come up to the line maintenance facility, which will be developed on a paved road from Robinson up to the site. So here you can see kind of the overall line drawing layout, and with the gate area being right here, and we're setting it there so that if you come and the gate's closed, you have a T turnaround that you can back up into the EOC drive and get back out onto Robinson. The other thing we're asking for is some relief on the some of the parking requirements. We have a lot of vehicles that are going to be coming up here with trailers, city vehicles, and this is a very expensive site for us to develop. They've been dumping sludge material from the water treatment plant across the street for about 40 years. And anyway, it's that was a larger expense than we would have on a less modified piece of property. But anyway, so what we're proposing are some, the whole road up there to the site will be paved. The public parking will be paved. We've got some paved parking along the backside of the administration building, which is the center building. So all of this area here will be pavement. And then we've got a loop drive around the perimeter of the site that will be paved. And what we're proposing is to have some 8 inches of type A aggregate compacted gravel for these other areas. And then up here also, this is vehicle storage areas. They're going to park trailers with backhoes and things like that. And then we've got some staff parking over here to the east that we're proposing to do gravel. And for those, we're going to use curb stops and things like that, since you really can't stripe gravel. But the idea is that anybody from the public coming up here would not have to walk through gravel. The third thing that we're asking for is some relief on the landscaping. And in actuality, I believe that, and Jane could probably confirm this, but we feel like we're meeting at least the spirit of the landscape ordinance, because on here there's perimeter landscaping required if you're on a right-of-way. There's street landscaping, which we're not on a street. And then there's parking having more than 30 spaces. So what we're proposing is to have landscaped areas in front of the building, have a landscaped island here, landscaping up in here, and it will all be irrigated. And then there'll also be some landscaping down here in front of the sewer line maintenance building. So we're wanting to present a good face, but we're wanting a little bit of relief as well. And there was one person at Planning Commission who showed up. I think her husband was the founder of Hall Park, and she was just curious and had a few interesting questions and no objections. And it also passed unanimously with Planning Commission. And with that, I will be happy to take. Oh, I do have one last thing I would like to mention for Ward 4 and stormwater. There is a detention pond at down here in the southwest part of the site. That detention pond is in this area here, and that detention pond is sized for this whole area to take any new construction that might occur on that whole area. So it's sized for the future, not for today.
And the majority of your parking that you have out there is 1.5 inch minus gravel. Is that what you're talking about, is type A?
Yeah, it's 1.5 inch aggregate. Yeah. That's the largest piece. It varies down from that, but yeah, it'll make a good solid.
It will.
Permeable surface.
I agree. Councilmember Schuler?
Yes, I was at Planning Commission when this was presented, and I know that they had a lot of questions about the gravel and the thickness of the pavement and things like that. So might you talk just a little bit about why this is being done? I think that it was about budgetary constraints and that the intent in the future is to pave those gravel surfaces at some later juncture when we have
Yes,
appropriate
Counselor,
budget.
that is exactly correct. I couldn't have said it better myself. But no, one of the reasons we're going with so all the pavement sections that the city vehicles are going to be driving on, which are a lot of, not only is there going to be waste management driving up there to empty dumpsters, but there's going to be, heavy trucks pulling heavy equipment. So all those paving sections are heavy-duty pavement as recommended by the geotechnical engineer and our civil engineer. And I believe those are 6 inches of asphalt base on top of 8 inches of compacted aggregate. And then, so what we proposed was to put basically the base for the heavy-duty paving in for the parking areas, and with the intent that in the future, under a new capital improvement budget, we can go in and that'll all be compacted down even tighter, and we can go in and pave over that for, with lighter duty paving for pedestrian vehicles.
So it'll be ready to go whenever we make the next step.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
There may be some curb and gutter work to do, but
And then all of the heavy-duty machinery will be on kind of the thicker concrete and all of that. They won't be on the,
you're correct.
gravel area. Just
Yeah, the only place
to
that's got
maintain.
light-duty paving is going to be for the public parking in front of the administration building.
And then in terms of, I guess, thinking about relief for the masonry and all of that, how far is the setback from the street?
1,000 feet to the southernmost portion of the sewer line building, which is shown here at this corner right here. To get to the corner where you turn to go to the water tower is like 1,250 feet. So it's way back there
Yeah, so even less visible than what we have on North Base, would you say?
by a factor of 2 or more.
Yeah, okay. So just clarification on that, like
Sure.
about visibility and, why this relief makes some sense for the type of services that are going to be up there and visibility from the location of the street.
Yeah, and it's not a typical R-panel siding that you see on typical metal buildings. When you see a barn or an auto shop, it's called a 7.2 panel. So it's more of an architectural metal panel. So we tried to kind of meet in the middle on using a higher quality, more expensive panel, but not quite have to masonry.
And then some questions about, I guess, landscaping too. I guess I won't use the word assume, but our ordinance is intended to help preserve I guess, impervious surface and to create natural spaces for drainage and rainwater and all of that. And this site is pretty massive. And so we're not even going to be touching the, impervious surface percentage at any time.
No, I
soon.
think it would probably not be in my lifetime.
Okay, just wanted some kind of clarification on those. So thank you.
Councilmember Thornton?
Now, see, I think Chris just wanted to save money and water with the landscaping. He's like, I didn't get my rate increase, so no water for you. I appreciate you answering all these questions and the changes thoroughly that you want. I look forward to supporting these projects that are coming into Ward 6. I'm very happy that they're coming and doing whatever we need to do to help our city function and our employees get the job done. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been an interesting several years. This project was plagued, as many others, by COVID and remote working and inflationary pressures and supply line issues. I feel like we got a really fair price from Crossland Construction, who's our construction manager, and hope to see you guys here in a couple of weeks with something on the consent agenda.
There are no members of the public signed up for speaking to this item. Anything else from council? All right. Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on the second reading. Council members, you can cast your votes, please. You can pass your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to adopt the ordinance upon second reading passes unanimously.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on final reading.
Second.
I have a motion and second. The motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on final reading. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast to adopt the ordinance upon final reading passes unanimously.
Excellent, thank you. So time for miscellaneous comments. Do we have anybody? We have 3 people signed up for miscellaneous comments. They're limited to 3 minutes or less.
Cynthia Rogers.
Evening. Having been to many long meetings, it's nice that this one isn't quite so long. Although I think that maybe the cost of quick meetings means that we cut out opportunities of public comments. Sometimes you don't know the questions you have until you see the presentation and you hear the questions by council members. My strategy has just been to sign up for things I think I might possibly want to comment on. Now, if everybody did that, that would be a whole lot of work for city clerk. So I'm hoping that we can revisit the idea that somebody here might have a spontaneous comment that contributes to the discussion or a question that's important. And, you could still have limits on the amount of time per issue and allow that to happen. It's our city government, so people should have as much opportunity as possible, I think, to participate. The item I really wanted to talk about tonight was people parking on sidewalks, and I'm sure my friend John High can appreciate this. But I walk a lot in Core Norman, Ward 4, you walk, you bike. And it's problematic when people are parking, particularly in Campus Corner, on the sidewalks, which puts you in harm's way, puts their cars in harm's way, depending on my mood. And I'm hoping that we could, I guess I'll talk to the police chief, but they're pretty busy, but I'm hoping that we can remind people to be courteous to folks using the sidewalks, to not park on the sidewalks. And I know we have some enforcement of that used to be imposed on my neighbors. So I hope we can do something about that. And there's a few strategic sidewalks that still need to be connected. Lindsay is, on Brooks is one of those. There's a bunch has been done, but there's still a little bit. If you need to use the sidewalk, you have to go onto the road to cross the railroad tracks. It's very dangerous if you should happen to need that. And you can see the warned path, so lots of people are doing that. So I hope that can get on the priority list. Also, just keep adding those bike lanes because I've been committed to commuting to work on a bike, and it's quicker than a car. So y'all should join me on biking. Thank you.
John High?
Yes, sir.
Turn it on, John. Go ahead and push the switch on it. Tap it. Tap it.
Sounds like it. Yeah, maybe.
John High, off Dakota Street. The reason why I came today, one of the reasons was what she was talking about the sidewalks. Iowa Street's a very bad street. Whenever people blocking the sidewalk and having to go out into the street and putting us, well, we have had a lot more accidents with pedestrians being hit by cars in our city. We need to do something about that, and that's one of the reasons was. The other reason is crosswalks. People blocking crosswalks when they're pulling up to stop signs, to, intersections. We can't go around here, are we gonna be right out in the street again? I mean, another thing is that we have construction that's going on in this town, and they're not marking off the sidewalks just as much as they're marking off the street. So the sidewalks have to be treated just like a street. We have to have a detour route to go on whenever the sidewalk's blocked. And we don't know where to go, you know what I'm saying? So we really need to work on that with our construction sites. And those are the two things I really wanted to address. Again, I want to force the issue. Today, I would add something I wanted to discuss after hearing the developer saying what he was saying on something. On a 3-story building, there's supposed to be an elevator. And I thought I heard something about a 3-story development today. And that wasn't brought up about making sure they had an elevator on a 3-story building. That's one of the ADA requirements. Now, because I can't get up to an apartment complex that's 3 stories high. So the public cannot do that, and that's not right for people with disabilities. I just wanted to point that out. As she was saying, I mean, we really do have other comments that are being added to after we held it here. What the development saying? That's why it's brought up to y'all. Don't you think the public has questions too? After that's being brought up to them too? Because it's hard to understand. I would have probably commented on a couple extra things, but I didn't want to take up your extra time on this situation. But after hearing the developer, I really thought I should have spoke up. Okay? So with that, we are limiting the public opinion by not doing that. So we really need to look in advisement of doing that situation. I think it's really, you say you want to be transparent, but you're not when you're limiting the public where they cannot speak when after they hear the development, because, there's a lot of questions we have too. I think you really need to look into that. I think you are taking away from what the public you really speak about. Thank you.
James McElvaney?
Mr. McElvain?
Is James McElvaney here? Okay, that's it.
None.